Hello and welcome to Mrs. C's Maths Lessons. So here we are with the answers for the difficult pie chart questions that were SATS level, okay? We had the 32 children taking part in the potato survey, and you should have got cross, tick, okay? 10 children like chips. We know that each eighth of this graph, 8 into 32 go 4, so each one of these is worth 4, isn't it? So so that means for 8 chips is 8 children, isn't it? Not 10. 25% of children liked mash. 25%. You can see that this looks like a quarter of the graph because it's 2/8. 2/8 is equal to a quarter. 25% is equal to a quarter. So yes, 25% of children like mash. A fifth of the children like roast. Well, we know that that's an eighth, so we know that's wrong, don't we? An eighth isn't a fifth. And 12 children like jacket. We know that each eighth equals 4 children. 4, 8, 12. Okay, so that is correct. Right, number 2, with your lost and won with your netball teams and your football teams, okay? Right, I drew that in there, didn't I? Because that lost looks a little bit, it was only an estimate. Looks a bit like a third, doesn't it, that? Oops, a third of the pie. So a third of the netball games, a third of 30, 3's into 30 would be 10, wouldn't it? So a third of 30 is 10. Well, it's a third of 100, isn't it? Because we're doing it in percentages. So estimate the percentages of games the netball team lost. So it's a third of 100. And a third of 100, estimate is about 30%, yeah? But in real terms, it's 33.33333 recurring, isn't it? Okay? David said the teams won the same number of games. Well, he's not correct, is he? Because this pie represents 30 games and this pie only represents 24 games, okay? So how you describe that is 50% or half of 30 is 15. So this is 15 games, isn't it? Because that's out of 30 games. And half of 24, this is 12. So no, he's wrong. They didn't win the same number of games. Whew. Hard work. Hope you did okay. Hi, okay, hopefully you are raring to go with today's maths lesson. The learning intention, we are intending to learn how to calculate and interpret the mean of a set of data, okay? So we're going to do it in 2 sections, calculating, work out how to do that, and then how to interpret it in a maths problem, okay? What is the mean, you may ask? Copy that onto your piece of paper or into your maths book, and let's have a look at what the mean is. Of course, the homophone of mean would be that you were not a very nice person if you were mean, okay? But mean, the homophone as far as the maths sense of the word is concerned, a synonym of it would be the average, the mean or average. Average means the typical number or the central number, okay? So the mean is the typical of a set of data or the central average number, okay? So the mean or average of a set of data is the total of the data divided by the number of items of data. So that is how you work it out. And it is the typical number in that set of data, the central number, okay? So can you copy under your learning intention this definition? Done that? Okay, right, so let's work out it of a set of data. So this is what we're going to do. This is our example. This is the number of hours worked by a plumber. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And these are the hours that he worked. So what have we got to do? We've got to add them up and divide by the number in the set of data. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2 weeks of 5-day weeks, okay? So the total number of days is 5 out of 5. So you know the set of data, you know the number. Now what you need to do is find the total number of hours. Okay, I'm going to pause, or you're going to pause the video, and you're going to work out that sum. Look, when you're adding up a set of data like that, for crossing them off as you add them up. And look, of course, for the number bonds. So first of all, you'd go 4 and 6 is 10, obviously. And then you'd look at 11 and 9, that would be 20. 20 add 10 is, and then you carry on like that. See you in a moment after you've worked it out. So hopefully you've worked out that the total number of hours was 75 hours. So we are going to go and work out the typical number of hours that this plumber works each day. And we are going to do that, finding out the average or the mean, by dividing the number of days by the number of hours. And that will be his average number of hours. So 75 divided by 10, 10 times smaller. His average hours worked per day is going to be 7.5 hours. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Let's look at another one. Okay, question number 2. The ages of 11 football players. Number of players? Number of players in a football team, just said it, 11 players. So that's the set of data. There are 11 parts of data, okay? So what do we need to do? To find the average, to find the mean? Get the total and divide by the number in that data set, which is 11. Okay, so you are going to add up these 11 numbers and then divide by that. Pause the video and we'll come back with the answer. Right, okay, so the number of players were 11 players. The total of all their ages was, hopefully you got it, 253 years. So what was the sum that you were going to have to do? You were going to have to divide 11 into 253 to find their typical or their central age. Okay, so 11s into 22 go 25, go 2 times, remainder 3, and 11s into 33 go 3 times. So the average age for these footballers in the team was 23 years old. Wow, okay. We are now going to go on to the second part of the lesson, which is interpreting the mean. So let's look at a question as far as that's concerned. So let's have a little bit of a look. So we've got some flights, some aeroplane flights. And we've got 5 of them, okay? So that is the set of data. That is what we've got. That's the total number of flights, okay? And the distance of those 5 flights, distance travelled, is 12,000 kilometres. Right, so this is you interpreting the mean. You've got this data. How are you going to get back to finding out what the mean is from that? This is your flights and this is your distance. Pause the camera, work out the answer. So how did you do? We had 5 flights and the total distance for those flights was 12,000 kilometres, okay? So to work out the average, you needed to work average flight distance of those 5 flights. You needed to do 5 into the total distance. 5 into 12 goes 2, and this should have been your answer. 2,400 kilometres for each of those flights, okay? Because 5 times that would add up to the total distance. Get it? Right, we are interpreting the mean by doing this. Let us now just go on to another way of interpreting the mean. Let's have another question. We've got 4 classes of pupils. So that's how many sets in the data we have. 4 classes. 4 classes, yep. So the mean class size. So that is the typical or the central class size is 26. What am I going to ask you? of course, I'm going to ask you, by interpreting the mean, if we've got 4 classes and the mean class size is that, how many children does that make altogether? So that is like a reverse operation, isn't it? So we divide the data into the total amount to find the mean, but now we have the mean and we have the number of sets of data, so we do the opposite operation to go back to find the total number of children. So we would do 26 times 4. 6 fours are 24, 2 fours are 8, 9, 10. The number of children through those 4 classes is 104 children. So reverse operation to work out how many children there were in total. Okay, last way of interpreting the mean. Let's see. We have a mean class size, so we're given the class size, a mean class size of 30 children. Okay, altogether, total children is 210. Total children, okay. What's missing? How many classes there are. How do we find out how many classes there are? There are 30 children through and the total number, 30 children in the average class, total number 210. You're going to have to divide the number of children you've got into the total number to work out the number of class sizes. I forgot there for a moment. Number of classes. Okay, so your sum is 30 into 210, and then you'll work out the number of sets of data, the number of classes, okay? So 30 into 210, 3's into 21, goes 7, so 30, 10 times bigger, 30 into 210 is 7. So there are 7 classes. Another way of interpreting that mean. Okay, let me set you about 4 mean questions to mean maths questions for you to do for tomorrow's lesson. Back with you in a minute. Right, here we are back with today's problems for calculating and interpreting the mean. You have question 1 is in 2 parts. There are 2 different sets of data that you've got to find the mean of, 1A and 1B. Then you go on to interpreting the mean, okay? So you look at what you know and you do what the question's asking you to do. Here you've got to find the total number of journeys, and here, again, you've got to find the total number of journeys, but you know different things for each question. Slightly more tricky, but I think you'll be able to do it. I will be back with the answers tomorrow. So, like me, subscribe and turn on post notifications. See you tomorrow. Did you spot the deliberate mistake? On this second section, I've written find the total number of car journeys, and then I've written car journeys 12. What I meant was the total number of miles for the car journeys. So, total number of car journey miles. Okay, so that was just a bit, just keeping you on your toes. Good luck with it. See you tomorrow.